Hello, Tina Hamilton here, and I have a very special guest today. His name is Kevin Connor and his business has a lot of syllables. Let me see if I can get it right. Modern Strategic Communications.
Close. Modern
Oh,
strategic branding and communications.
branding and
There we go. There we
communications.
go.
That's a lot
Nice.
of syllables.
That's a lot of syllables.
But there's also an acronym that's what is it?
Modern SPC.
Modern SBC.
There
So
we go.
that's a lot easier. Modern SBC. Welcome,
Thank you very much for
Kevin. So
having me.
glad to have you
Here for the
here.
opportunity.
I've known Kevin, I think maybe we joined EO at the same exact time, right?
Okay. Yep. It was the end of 17, early
So
18.
7 years in
Yeah.
EO. I
Yeah.
think that's
You
what
got
I had
that
on my
down.
tag. That's how
Okay.
I know.
That sounds good.
So,
We'll go with that.
7 years together. And Kevin has an interesting story about how he got into his business with him and his sister and another partner. But I'll let you tell the story, Kevin. It's a good one.
Um, so I've known what I wanted to do since high school. I just never took the steps to go at it. I took a class in high school. It was about mass media at the time is what it was called. And it was always just about impulse, and advertising was a big part of it.
Okay.
I went to a different program in college. I'm probably one of the least effective finance majors that Temple University ever graduated because I took my first marketing class second half of my senior year. You probably couldn't do that anymore. It's more structured, but I took it and I
Okay.
said, you know what? I like this. I'm not doing really good at that, so I'm going to go over this way.
Okay.
And so I ended up at a company that sold a lot of printing at the first part, and then we moved into a lot more advertising, creative design. And so
This was a job that your first
this
job.
was one of my
Or
first jobs.
one
I
of your
said
first
that.
jobs in
Yeah,
marketing. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. I spent about a year in supermarkets, believe it or not,
Oh, no kidding.
tracking UPC numbers, which was not
Oh,
not where I wanted to be. It was time to move on. So,
yeah. Right.
but it was marketing related,
Yeah.
market research. So learned a little bit of
Okay.
lesson that way. When I got into sales position for the existing company I worked with, I was there about 11 years. Had gotten married, had 3 kids. We moved into a new house in November of '98. And 6 weeks later, the owner of the company came in and said, I'm going to sell the company. I had no contract or agreement, and my wife's not working, so I had no cash. And
Oh, no.
I went and met the person that he was going to sell to, and we were in Conshohocken, and he was in King of Prussia, and coming back from the Schuylkill and said, you know what? Not the smartest guy in the world, but maybe I can do what he's going to do. And approached the owner and said, what if we put together a couple team here to buy your company? And he was very amenable, helped us out.
Wait, the guy that bought the company you worked for, you went to buy him out?
Yeah,
Or
the company,
oh,
my boss, the person that owned that company,
oh,
we
oh,
went to
before
buy
he
him
sold
out.
it to this other guy.
Yes, exactly.
Got it. Got it.
Exactly. So,
Okay. Oh,
he
okay.
came to us. I never really thought about what the other person must have thought because he thought he had a done deal, and all I said, people internally are buying it. So,
Wow.
so
So he
myself
must
and
he
two
must
partners.
have been,
You know what? He was a good guy. I've been
yeah.
around for 11 years, and his kids did not want anything to do with it. And I
Oh, okay.
often wonder if one of those things, like I think I got along with him, had a similar style to him, and he said, "Here's somebody I think could take it and run." I mean, he took a chance on us for sure.
Yeah,
He didn't.
absolutely, because he had a deal
Yeah,
already,
had a
right?
deal. Yeah, he could
Yeah.
get it done, and he held the note for us for 5 years, and just kind of
Wow.
made sure we were there. So he helped us along. It was a nice mentoring type relationship.
Oh,
It was really good.
perfect.
So it really
Wow.
worked out well.
And did you think about being an entrepreneur prior to this or
Uh,
no?
no, I had a couple of ventures, but term I use often is desperatePreneur. I had to make a choice there, and because the other company was going to buy, it was not
Right.
uncommon in our industry for them to just kind of get rid of extra salespeople or overhead, basically, and just kind of
Okay.
absorb the accounts. So,
Yeah.
but we took a chance, and my sister is one of my business partners. We bought the other partner out about 15 years ago,
Was
and so
she in marketing also at the
she was.
time?
She had a very similar company doing her own thing. She folded her client list in with ours.
Oh, perfect.
So
Okay. So, wow,
we
timing
are
went great.
first generation. Wasn't anything that was handed down to us, and people often ask us when I describe what we do and who I'm with. I often see people's eyes go up to the left like that, and I say, "I know what you're thinking." And they, what do you mean? I said, you're wondering whether you could work with your brother or sister, aren't you? And they say, yeah. Like, how did you know that? I said, I've seen
Yeah,
that
I
look a
think a lot
thousand
of people
times.
think.
So we are two of seven. We were number four
Holy
and five,
moly.
right in the middle. So we often think that we were kind of the referee mentality, maybe. Sometimes we're maybe too much alike. So it's maybe not as much friction as you might need, but
Ah,
or want.
okay.
So everything costs something, right? There's sometimes good. Maybe it could be a little bit different. Who knows?
I imagine.
But
Yeah.
for 25, going to be 26 years this year, we've gotten along, and
Wow.
we are pretty much the sales part. We were salespeople, really. I went home on a Friday as a salesperson, came back Monday as an owner. So I didn't go to management training school, and that's just my story,
Just
and I
thrown to the
enjoy that part.
wolves.
So I do not do a lot of what we do. I just go get the business, bring it in, and then let the other people handle it.
Okay.
So
All right. And do you and your sister split the owner duties, or how does that work?
we had some government contracts, so she's got 51% of the company, and I got 49. And
Okay.
Diane, my sister Diane, does a lot more of the administrative end than I do. So she
Okay.
has some sales and more administrative. I just pretty much handle the sales.
Sales. And who's
Mhm.
managing the people?
We both do.
Oh, okay.
We've been very fortunate,
Yeah,
and the
that's great.
people that we've hired are very self-motivated, self-starting. We do not have to babysit. If we have to babysit somebody, they probably don't last with us too long.
Okay, got it.
A lot of self-initiative and the thrill of a small company that um, they're able to take it and run.
Yeah, that's
We've been very fortunate.
perfect.
So,
Yeah, you must do good with hiring then.
we got
Mhm.
lucky a couple
Yeah.
times.
Okay.
Exactly. So, been fortunate in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
But with the independents certainly going through what everybody else went through with COVID, we were just had a lot of independence and freedom that we let them do what they wanted. They were working remotely. We kept our office open. We are small enough that we got a big enough office space that people could come in. And overall, I think we have how do I say this? I think our people are social. Like they liked still going to a place. They kind of grew up going to a place.
Oh, right.
And
Because so many marketing companies stayed remote during
so
COVID,
many
right?
companies, yeah,
Or companies,
exactly, yeah,
period.
companies,
But
period.
marketing, especially creative people, they like the
Creative
flexibility.
services, very much so. I'd say our industry lends itself to a lot of freelance type personalities because you may not need a particular talent for more than 3 months. You get a project that comes in. I need this talent for 3 months. I
Oh,
need that,
okay.
and so that the freelance um, structure outlook has it does has done very well in our industry. I'll say it that way.
Okay.
So because I don't need a photographer every day, I don't need a strategist every day, I don't need a
Absolutely.
videographer every day.
So you use freelancers to
Exactly.
fill
We've
in.
got a great bench of people that we work with, and they're relying on a Christmas party. Everybody comes out, or a holiday party. Everybody comes out and has a good time. So
That's an amazing model. So you're not having to carry salaries all year
that
long.
helps a lot. Yes,
Yeah, I would
exactly. So
say.
mhm.
Wow, it's a great
Been
formula.
fortunate for us. I did not come up with it. It just kind of evolved
Yeah,
into it, and it works for us. I'll say it that way. So
right. And there are so many freelancers you can find now on Fiverr and all these other sites.
there are a lot of people out there. Although
Well,
one of the
that's
things I've learned
yeah.
is this person costs X number of hours and it can do the job in an hour, whereas this person might be a lot less, but I'll need 5 hours to do that. So
Okay.
you're paying for. I don't want to use that phrase. You get what you pay for, but you want to align yourself with people that have some chops and understand communications.
And probably some consistency, I imagine, too, in how you do the work for your clients. Like,
Very much so.
yeah.
Certainly with the clients, a lot of times the clients will get to meet the people they're working with directly. This
Okay.
person putting your website together. This is your photographer. This is your writer.
Right.
We're on a Zoom call. Get them to know, and I want them to be comfortable
Right.
because we're going to be. I'm not going to say we're in bed together, but we're pretty close for 3 months, and you better be able to push back if I don't like that or I don't like the how that's said.
100%. I mean,
And
I could think back to the early days where I didn't speak up and then ended up disappointed. And, you live and you learn when you own a business
right,
over the years. And now, I speak up
you're a lot more
too
better,
much.
right?
Yeah.
So
Right.
we found a lot of the times the challenge in our industry often is we're working with marketing, sales, communication, messaging, and a lot of people say, I want to say this, or I want the colors to look like this, or I want the logo to look like this. And yet sometimes I don't necessarily care what Tina thinks. I have to care about what Tina's customers want and expect. How am I going to market to them?
Mm,
Because I want Tina to go to the bank. She's here to go to the bank, unless it's a vanity project of some sort. But
right.
overall, if you're there to earn money, I'm there. I care more about what your customers think and your market.
So you have to push back if you think my ideas are
Exactly.
not, because I'm not the marketer.
Had that this
You are.
morning, just on a call this morning. That
Okay.
person says, "This is the way our logo looks," and says, and you have to diplomatic and had a designer and a communication um, person on the call, and boy, just watch them diplomatically. And he saw it too. He's like, "You're
Mm.
just being very diplomatic and telling me it's time to ditch that logo, huh?" He said, "We didn't want to come out and say it, but it may be hurting you in the marketplace." So, and as soon as
There's,
he said that, he got
I think that says a lot for your business because I can't tell you how many times people have just agreed with me over the years, and I knew in my soul that something that it wasn't right, but "Oh, no, this is fine, this is fine." Maybe they knew I didn't wanna spend the money or
Right.
I don't know, but
A lot of times I feel that people can be very courteous and to the point where they're almost, sometimes they feel like Chip and Dale.
you're not doing
I mean,
anybody any favor to
yeah,
agreeing with
at
somebody.
least ask some questions and push back a
Right.
little. So,
No, I want the vendor I'm using to care, like you said, care enough about, the project that they're gonna push back, right? Like you
and
said.
it has a cost sometimes as well. There's been,
Right, of course.
we had somebody
Yeah.
on the client we were working with, and we had done the messaging, and he was working about he wanted a logo, and it was just, so imagine yourself being a designer. Somebody give me a logo. What's your company do? And he just didn't really share any information. And the designer's like, we can go in so many different directions here, but help me out, Bob. You got to give me a little bit more information. That's it. I'm done. Computer closed. Didn't want
Wait,
to talk
what?
to him anymore. Didn't want to
Just
talk to
that?
him. Don't know what he did. Don't know what he did. I met a couple of people said, sounds like him, that knew him
Okay, got
in a
it.
different way. So who knows? It just
Yeah,
being able to respond to whatever your clients may throw at you. So I think that ability to talk to people, work with people. I often think of like a diplomat. Think of the State Department. You're just kind of, you're navigating waters and trying to get to a common ground. And
yeah.
where can we move forward here?
Read
So
the room and
exactly, reading the room. And I talked to a lot of high school and college kids, and they ask, "How'd you get where you are?" I was like, "Phew, I was not good at this early on." And I say, if you have one skill, be able to get along with a lot of different type of people, because they're already doing it, right? In a lot of ways, they're doing it with their social media and their phones. And in the high school lunchroom is still the high school lunchroom. You're talking with people, you got clicks, just be able to get along with people.
right.
So
Okay. So that's worked for you, obviously.
yes, it continues to.
Yeah.
I continue to refine. How about that? Not always perfect, but I enjoy the experience.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure clients love working with you. I mean, I've known you for 7 years, and I think you're one of the most lovable, friendly people I've met in EO.
I'll
So,
give you
and I
20
think
minutes.
everybody else thinks that. Yeah. So you and your sister,
hmm
and you said the dynamic there is good. You get along great.
So far, so good.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep. Exactly. Now we don't think about it a lot when you're like everybody else. When you're starting a business, you're just worried about money coming in, right? You
Yeah.
just don't have time to,
Worry
well,
about
he
the
said, she said, or
nitpicking. Right.
so I think we had different expectations. Maybe if we were a second or third generation business where it or had been running, and then you, you kind of, your hierarchy might be a little bit different.
Sure.
And, I'm sure you've probably seen that happen in businesses.
Oh,
A family friend of mine, and
you too, right? Family businesses, that's a tough, I mean, it sounds like you and your sister, well, you said you're 2 of
two of
7,
seven. Yep.
so you had to get along, like, in your house, or at least something, right?
Yeah, I would say so. Probably much like you, no matter how many people you come from, like that's just your normal. This is my house, that's your house, and
Yeah,
I didn't really think about pushing back or
right.
not getting along. And
I would think with 7 kids, you would have to learn compromise somewhere along the line where if you just have 1 or 2 kids, you might have 2 bathrooms, you might have,
yeah,
you might have enough whatever, things in the kitchen or whatever to not have to fight about, but when you have 7, I imagine you're fighting for things sometimes,
one
no?
of the things I remember is so we had there was 9 of us, my mom and dad and 7 kids, and my dad sold cars right down the street, about a mile down the street,
Oh,
Cadillacs and Lincolns, and he was oftentimes the dinner conversation dealt with customer service, how he worked with clients and managed their expectations.
mm,
So that was just part of our conversation a lot of times, just how life, and then extracting that wisdom and putting it into our world. How you getting people along with school, your teachers, your friends, and just trying to managing that. I'd say to a person, we're all pretty good at getting along with people. And
right.
that was just our house. That's what we did. And,
That's
we all
yeah.
had chores and you did stuff. And our mom, I stand on the shoulders of giants. Our parents were
Oh, that's
terrific.
nice.
So we're very
Yeah,
fortunate
see?
and just kind of learn.
It's nice. It's interesting the different we were just talking about that, the different upbringings and how that affects who you are and who you become as an entrepreneur, I mean. Anyway, so okay, so you have this business, you're growing it.
Mm-hmm. We've been one of the things that I learned from the previous owner was he would approach people in a similar business, usually older, that were retiring, there who had a book of clients they were taking care of in similar work, and they didn't have anybody to pass their business off to. So
Okay.
their kids weren't interested for whatever reason, want to go do something else. So when they're ready to retire, they got a book of clients that were happy buying from them. They just didn't know how to sell it, or they it wasn't big enough, or they never thought about selling it. So he started us on a path and just gave us a model we've worked with. And during COVID, two businesses came to us in COVID. Believe it or not, people just wanted to move on. They didn't want to go through the rebuilding cycle again. So we brought their clients and folded them in, and we've been fortunate. So I'm talking to
And you've
one now.
10 now, did you tell
We've
me?
done 10. Yeah,
That's
exactly.
amazing.
So very fortunate. And we're just kind of working on one right now in North Jersey. And somebody just, I've been talking to him for about 4 years. And
Wow.
he came through EO, as a matter of fact.
Oh,
I met
okay.
him in EO. And he's up there doing the same thing we were doing. And he found out about 6 months ago he's got cancer.
Oh,
And
that's
now
sad.
it's just,
Okay.
he's like, boy, just what a different mentality or outlook he has. He wants to make sure his wife's taken care of if anything happens to him.
Oh,
So it
that's lovely.
accelerates the want. There we go. So
So you're able to acquire another business and do good, help somebody out that
I would like to do
that
that,
yeah.
right? And
Yeah,
like anything
if it
else,
goes
just
through you.
exactly. So just managing expectations. And one of the businesses we bought, I talked first met the person in 2003, and he didn't come with us till 2017. Check with him every 6 months.
Whew.
When you're ready, Rich, just let
Man,
me know.
you're patient.
Up
You're a
in your neck of
patient
the woods. As a matter of
salesperson.
fact, you're up there, and he's up in
Oh.
Allentown way.
Oh, okay.
But he still stayed on. He's like, look, I want to get rid of most of it, and still stayed on with us and still takes care of some accounts. So
Oh,
it's it's a way for them to kind of get out at their own pace, and he's very
right.
active, and he's got the relationship. So I'm saying, you just take care of them.
That's
That'll be great.
beautiful.
So there's lots of stories out there. Everybody's got a story for how they end up
Yeah.
where they are, and
How do you know that somebody's aligned with you when you're purchasing? I imagine that's on a lot of people's minds when they're purchasing a business, especially marketing, because marketing, I'm just thinking of the marketing companies I've used, and I know it's more than just marketing, but
hmm
branding and all
yeah,
of those
sure.
things. I'm just putting it in a bucket. I'm looking for a certain personality, a certain level of modern style, right? Like, or whatever, somebody that's going to align with the way I think and not be like in my world, we don't like to look too corporate,
All right.
right? So finding that person, it's not an easy thing, finding that company that gets it. So how do you analyze how you're going to align, or is that part of the process? I imagine it would
Is
have
this
to
with
be.
customers for the business or
No, when
companies
you're
for other?
purchasing a business, yeah.
So great question that, and we use our website is pretty much transparent who we are. Here's who I
And
am. I've
yeah,
talked to you, and I bring them inside, and I just say, look, here's who we are. This is this type of company we got. If your customers want this, this, and this, we could be a good fit. If not,
so
they
you're
might
leaning
not.
a little on them to see if they think
Oh,
you
it's definitely,
align to
yeah. I let them
begin.
know exactly who they are. I
Yeah,
just say, here's how it's going to work, and here's how the payout's going to work. And if you don't like that, then maybe we're not a good fit,
right.
which has happened. We had
Sure.
one
Yeah.
company a couple years ago, and it was a brother and sister company. They had taken over
Oh,
their
no kidding.
father's business, brother and
Yeah.
sister, and I thought it was a perfect fit. She did not. She
Okay.
wanted a very specific amount of money. I said, look, I can't afford that.
Yeah.
I couldn't see how we're going to get there. Like, I just think we all have visions of something being worth more than really what the value is.
Oh,
And
well, I mean, that's you hear about that all. I sold my first business and I learned a lot of lessons. One of them being that everyone thinks their business is worth more than it is. I think that's like a general rule of thumb.
you know what? It was interesting because it was brother and sister, and the brother was all on
Oh,
board,
he was okay.
ready
Just
to
her.
sign the papers,
Okay.
and he made his
He
sister.
got it.
He said, "Buy me out because this is the deal. This is a good
Oh,
deal for us." So
wow.
he left the business.
Holy moly.
Yeah. So it's
Okay.
you're at the mercy of how people
Yeah.
behave and what influences them.
Right. That makes sense.
So that's
S-
kind of the fun, right? It's negotiation going back and forth because there's
Right.
nothing there.
Right.
So
So is your plan now to grow through further acquisitions, or what's your plan now?
people always say that. Like, what do you want
Yeah.
to do next? And to me, this is fun.
Yeah.
Like,
No, yeah, it's
I'm not a
great.
golfer. I'm not a hunter. I'm not a fisherman. This is what I do.
You
Going to
love
work.
doing
I
this.
just like going to work and meeting people and sharing the stories and saying, yeah, that could be a good fit, folding them into what we do. And I don't necessarily have an exit strategy.
Oh, okay.
I'm probably the worst AEO member out there that doesn't have an
I don't know
exact
about the
strategy.
worst.
But
Hey, you know what? Some people work till the end of their time, like that's, and they don't think about it.
not as much. Me and my
Yeah.
sister, it's afforded us an independent lifestyle. So you can go away and somebody else is there watching the shop, and
That's really
let's
nice.
go. So it's nice that way. It's the value of having a partner. It's an
Oh,
in-house person
yeah.
to talk to, and you're not just the entrepreneur, the only
Right.
person there. So
Right.
just like everybody else, though, you're trying to keep your employees happy and give them a space where they can grow and put their talents to work, and that's part of the fun.
And your sister's on the same path, like, she's also, like,
Yes, yeah.
totally just, "We're just gonna keep going."
For right now,
Yeah,
it's working out well.
yeah,
Yeah, we're not really sure. We just knocking
just
on something here. I don't
yep,
know, but that's worked out well. So
yeah.
maybe things will change. Who knows?
No, no.
Um,
But your sister is not Neo, just you?
no, I am just in Neo. Yes, she
Okay.
is. She's
And
got
that
some other groups she's
just
with. So
your that's, like, your part of the business is
yes,
this.
it's been part of. It's brought like everybody else. You bring stories back, and how could you have your form and learning things from there, because there's people with different size businesses in my form alone. So you're just kind of learning from
Sure.
them and say, what can I bring back and invest in our company, or do I want to stay this size? So you
Mhm.
just look. You just want to be profitable. That's what we're trying to be, right? So
Okay.
it doesn't necessarily matter. I don't have a size in mind personally.
Okay.
I'm just kind of enjoying the ride.
Just keep enjoying it and growing and
Yeah,
seeing
yeah,
where
for
you can
sure.
go.
So,
That's amazing. I mean, that's
and
great.
that's been good so far, right? I'll say it that way, right? So me and my sister, we realize we're getting older, and a lot of
Mhm.
the clients that we're coming across are not as old. So you have to try to cater to that, and um, do they want to talk to somebody that's got years of experience or not?
That's a great question, if you don't mind me asking, is, there's a lot of when it comes to marketing, branding, all of that, uh, there's so many new tools every minute coming out with AI and things like that. How do you even keep up or decide if it's worth folding that into your business?
Great question. I'm not sure if I have the um, definitive answer,
Okay.
although a lot of if you were to look back on advertising and marketing, a lot of things have not changed in a way of how you appeal to people with messaging, the tools, that technology changes. But
Okay.
deep down, people tend to buy more emotionally than logically, or they justify logically. But look, you look at we had people working with us that were essentially he was a madman, and I say that like the reference to TV show. He said,
Oh,
I worked
madman.
on Madison Avenue. I was a madman without the skirts of the alcohol. Chasing the skirts of the alcohol. He said he was a doer.
Okay.
Writing copy, putting together, and sometimes we need that service for what we do.
Right.
So a lot of it hasn't necessarily changed. People wanted to change. To think it's new and novel.
But the core of it is
The
the
core
same.
has a lot of integrity, and it hasn't changed that much. The principles are still the same. You're appealing to people's could be their vanity, their intelligence, their wish list, their novelty, their
Mhm.
nouveau riche, the old people that got well. Who are you going after? What are they looking for? What are the expectations they have for how they're being marketed to?
Right.
Some people are more sophisticated than others, and some people want the shiny new object.
Right.
So,
Right, right. And there's just so much coming at you now. I guess that's a difference, right? I
just
mean,
reading a story yesterday, or
yeah.
how actually Gen Z and next, I think it's Gen Alpha would be next.
Alpha's the next one. I
Alpha,
just
right?
learned that this week.
And
Yeah.
how marketing and especially clothing companies, how do these younger people, like in their late teens and 20s, who have had some disposable income, they're working, they're buying things, and sometimes by the time the package comes a month later, it's they're on to the next trend. So they're just trying to identify, who do I want to become? Do I want to become the coastal grandmother? Am I uh, the office? I forget the term. My apologies.
It's all right.
But the office siren, or
Yeah.
the ego or eccentric grandpa. Like, how do they want to dress, or what do they want to become? It's almost like they're um, the clothing and the accessories they're putting on. Sometimes it's just out of reach quickly, more quickly than when I was a
Mm,
kid, for sure.
okay.
So you're trying to define yourself here. And if you want to, my experience has been, if you're looking to develop a brand, inconsistency like that is not going to be good for you. If you're just going to jump from
Right.
tree to tree there, people want expectations, because people may not buy from you right now, but they may get your messaging over the next year or two and just kind of say, "Look, I like you." Now you post yourself like that person. Not to use me as an example, but for 14 years, I just talked to him every 6 months. Still the same person. Here's what we're doing. Let him know what our website was up to, and he said, "Boy, you just kind of presented the same thing that I've seen. It's your consistency that's really done well."
Ah,
Uh,
okay.
we're around here. One of the when I speak to the high school and college students in the area, you try to, because a lot of times branding and communication might be a little bit, they're just not sophisticated, not because they're not smart. They just haven't really, they don't see it as something in there. I said, what have you spent money on, right? What have you bought? I'll bet I'm thinking of a brand you've probably spent money on. One of you's probably spent money on today, maybe definitely this week. and, local, and they're just trying to think. And Wawa is the one I lean on, only because it's so common. Everybody, many people go to a Wawa, and
Right.
boy, I ask them, where would you go? Would you go 7-Eleven or Wawa right next to each other? Where are you going? And certainly, without a doubt, in this area, people are going to Wawa. And I say, would you be surprised to know that 7-Eleven, this market isn't huge for them? They have upwards, I think it's 84,000 stores worldwide. 84,000 stores, 7-Eleven. Huge, right? But the brand that is the local one. Here's why I go to Wawa, right? Just like it. People just, for whatever reason,
It's
it's
a
clean.
different it is a
It's
different
kind of a vibe. They had
totally.
done,
Yeah.
a couple years back, they had built their new store in Florida, and my wife and I were down there. We had family down there. We had stopped into the store, and it was bright, big, and they actually had seating outside. I think it was, different from a Wawa around here.
Right.
And I was reading in the paper where they had a choice to make at some time when they were building the Wawa, because if you go to a Wawa, the contractor was asking, "Well, do you want sliding doors or pull open doors?" And think about when you go to a Wawa. Have you ever been to
Pull open, I believe, right?
pull? They're all pull open.
Yeah.
And the reason they did that is by design, because there's an unspoken courtesy among people often going into a Wawa where you hold the door for them. It's just gonna
Literally, that's what I was just thinking about.
really, yeah.
I was somebody opened a door for me the other day and I said, "Thank you." And they didn't hear me and they said, "You're welcome."
Oh boy,
That's
wow.
what popped into my head.
You gotta speak
Literally
up, right?
though, it they just didn't hear me. I did
Right,
say,
yeah.
but you're right. There is an expectation.
That's part of
Like,
their brand, right? And it's
I
not
know
something they sat down and
that.
right there.
Literally has to do with
But they noticed it, and I noticed myself. The Wawa around me, I'm surprised there are not more morning accidents with people grabbing their coffee and pulling. It's a tight parking
oh,
spot,
everyone
and
jokes about the Wawa parking lot, right? It's like a
yeah,
joke. It's because it's so dangerous.
it's a boy. If you want to get your chops driving,
I
that's a
think
great place to
inside
go
it's a little
start.
dangerous too because people are walking around with the screens.
Right?
Anyway,
Yeah,
so yeah, okay. So, and that's a big part of what you do, right? For companies
that's
is
part of the
help with
fun,
that.
right?
It's the
Exactly. Trying
consistency.
to offer that to them, because a lot of times, not unlike um, maybe teenagers with some disposable income, we're all rats in the maze. I always say this, myself included, right? You're just buying, you're behaving the way they want you to behave and how you want to buy. All these impulses are coming at you. Where have you chosen to spend your money? What brands are you supporting? It could be your shoes, could be your car, it could be your clothing, could be, I don't know, type of silverware, China used in your home. Think
Mhm.
about things. Most things have a name to them, right?
Right.
So we're all promoting something,
Yeah.
ourselves included. Personal brand could
Yeah.
be, what are you known for?
So job security for you.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah,
People are
keep
always going to
pushing it
have to
that way.
promote something, right?
And I don't think that's bad. I think that's a great
No,
lesson for
yeah.
young people to learn,
Hmm.
just in how you behave. We're all gonna make choices. Where your
That's right.
choice is gonna take you. That personal responsibility is put on all of us, people and companies.
Right.
I would say, look, become better, become stronger, become wiser. Just, it may not always make the best decision,
Is
but
that your
take
mantra?
on.
Become better?
That was taught to me by a mentor of mine. Yeah,
Oh, I love
kind of
it.
leaned on
Can
that.
you repeat that
Better,
again?
stronger, and wiser.
Better, stronger, wiser.
So
That's your choice every day.
pretty much.
Yeah.
And that you're not the best, you're not the strongest, you're not the wisest. It's ER versus EST. So we're always becoming more,
Yeah.
which I
Yeah.
thought was great. And
I love that.
yeah,
Because
take it and use it.
you can't if you stay the same, I mean that we could go on a whole nother conversation about that,
It's a long
the
one.
change management, because that's a big issue in the world of people that don't want to change. But if you're not changing, you're in a business, you're gone, right? You're
That's
gonna
part of the one of
disintegrate.
the frustrating parts of. I'm sure I can't be the only one, but when people don't see the world or behave in the world the way you do, it's as a business owner, you're like, oh, I want to be known for that, and
Right.
I want them to behave in a way. Unless everything's debatable, push back on
Right.
me if it's different. But here's what's been successful for us, and I think when you're showing up as an ambassador for our company, more often than not, this is the way I want you to behave, right?
Right. And
So
that's what they want you to get on paper or on the internet or wherever, right? Is
we're
how
trying
they
to aim
want.
for that
Yeah.
exactly. And a lot of times, people are looking at customers are looking at themselves like, wow, how have we gotten here? Right? What's been good for us to move our company forward? Because a lot of times, just like entrepreneurs, you're really good at this. You never really gave thought to this as much,
Right.
and how you've grown your business, and how your people take it out there.
And I think this is a good way to finish this up is, the world today, well, I'm thinking about when my son was young, he wanted to go to school for entrepreneurship. And in the United States, believe it or not, at that time, or at least that we could find, there was only one school, and that was Johnson and Wales, believe it or
Really?
not, in
Yeah.
Rhode Island. Yeah. So that's where he started. And then eventually Temple got an entrepreneurship program. And now everybody has an entrepreneurship program. And anybody can learn entrepreneurship and try to be, it doesn't mean everybody is an entrepreneur, but they can learn to become one. Where when we were younger, that wasn't the case.
Great
There
distinction.
wasn't
Yeah.
so many people starting businesses
Right.
back in those days. Yeah.
That's
So
a definitely another conversation. But the
yeah,
whole entrepreneurially minded thinking,
right,
even how you live your personal life, right? You just have
right.
that push yourself a little bit
Yeah,
beyond
right.
what you think your expectations are. So
Yeah.
good
So
thoughts.
what's the so you're gonna work forever. And, that's is that the mantra? But you get along good? I mean, this is an interesting conversation, and I know we gotta sum it up, but you and your sister, it seems like you get along great. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you have your ups and downs, but it sounds like in general, you get along great, you have a good, healthy business, you're happy where you are. If you keep growing, you're not trying to become the biggest in the world, you're just sticking with who you are.
We enjoy attracting clients and
Yeah.
employees that people just enjoy the style that we have. Let's
Yeah.
say it that way. It
Yeah.
allows them a decent amount of freedom and independence to take it and become the best version of themselves they want
Yeah,
to be.
I love
So,
that because not everybody has to be a giant company. I think people all feel that feel like they always have to keep striving to become bigger, 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 but that's not necessarily good for everybody or necessary, right? If you're happy,
yeah,
you're doing well, you
there's um, the business has. Somebody told me the market has no conscience, right? So it really doesn't
mm,
care whether you do well or not.
no, that's a good point.
The market just is going to be there,
Right.
and it's up to you to adapt and overcome any challenge you might have, and
Yeah.
pivot your company, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
You got to respond to opportunity.
Yeah.
So
Right.
keep going.
Excellent. Well, it was so good to have you here, Kevin. I'm finally glad I know we've been talking about this for a while, so I'm glad to finally get you here.
Thanks for the
And
opportunity.
thanks
This is
for
terrific. Great,
bringing out here
great
and
lessons that
coming out to
everybody's sharing. I'd like to
yeah.
just add to the list of people.
Yeah.
So much to learn from everybody. So
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I love doing this. Just I learn every person that I talk to. I really,
I know
really
you
enjoy
do.
it. Yeah, it's great.
Good
So
for you.
thank you so much, Kevin.
Thanks a bunch.
Appreciate
Great.
it.
Keep
All right.
going.
Thank you.